Right. Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see you here. I'm glad some people sort of came out this pretty. Actually, it was quite pleasant this morning compared to what we've had in the last few weeks. It wasn't raining. It was actually quite mild. But it's still been dark. So congratulations to the ones that actually got up and got out. So just a quick warm welcome to Keith. So I think you've sort of met. I know, obviously, you've said Colin. Yeah. But do you want to just give a bit of an overview of what you do? By all means. So about solutions.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah. Just to get a bit of an overview.
Family-run business, nearly going 30 years. We're the longest Sage business partner in the UK. Have 8 staff. We've predominantly got 3 full-time Microsoft certified engineers, which we look after just over 3,000 PCs around Hampshire. We have large clients, 75 years is our biggest site. Smallest site is 1, obviously. But we also do people's books. We are an accounting bureau service and a payroll, registered inland revenue agent for payroll. In the last year, we've grown to over 100 companies, local companies that we do the payroll for. And this year, we're majoring on more payroll bureaus. This is where we're majoring this year. With this new wonderful bit of pension legislation that's coming, bigger companies had to do it, small ones next year, and so on. I was just explaining to Kevin, for red tape, if you like, just over 450 cleaners for one company here in Southampton, and about similar size in London. I expect we're going to have a day and a half every single month onto processing just to handle a piece of software where 90% of the people aren't going to use it. But every single month they opt out, then anybody new, people who don't opt out, you have to do them. It's a nightmare. So we're doing that. So accounting and payroll bureaus, and we back up our client sites IT-wise. And we are a Dell preferred reseller.
Excellent. Good.
Lovely.
Thank you. So good to see you. And that's a list of the Profit Club members there. So
thank you.
You'll sort of recognise some of the faces and the names as you go through. So just give you a bit of an overview, Keith, of how we run Profit Club. What we'll start off, we like to celebrate wins and successes from our businesses over the last couple of weeks. Well, it's a little bit longer than that since we last met before Christmas. So hopefully there's nothing else, some good Christmas presents that have been received over the break. Then we'll go into our business improvement tip, which really today is a discussion about how to improve your cash flow. So we're going to look at some ideas of really how do we speed up, not how do we get more sales, okay, or get more profit. It's purely about just bringing the cash into the business. So we're going to be, the predominant part of the meeting will be discussing that. Then we have the last part of the meeting is a members forum where any of you can actually bring a topic that we can actually then discuss. So if you've got any challenges, any particular areas that you want to sort of get a bit of insight into, perhaps you just want to share something from your industry that is relevant to everybody else in the room. So has anybody got any ideas, anything that they would like to talk about? This is where I ask, and everyone gives me a blank look as this is the first time I've asked the question. Does anybody work on anything they do want to get a bit of feedback on?
I'll answer some questions if anybody's good at improving cash flow.
Okay, well we can definitely use your Can we pick on yours on the marketing? Yes, that's what we're working on. So my mind, but yeah. I know these aren't your typical sort of target market people. A bit too old for that. Yeah. But some got on the beat there, so I think that'll be quite good. So we'll do that sort of around about sort of 8:30, 8:45, and then we'll just wrap up with the other events that are coming up within Action Coach over the next few months. Okay. So I think again we've got a small group, so I think what we'll do is we'll just go around each of us individually. So just for Keith's benefit, just who you are, the business, the type of business that you're in, and then your top win and success from the last couple of weeks. And Clive, was the winner for the last time, and has actually had it for a month now. So
Yeah.
you haven't cleaned it, have you? So it's your job to.
I'll be photographed everywhere with this.
Your job to pass that on to whoever you think is the top win. So on that basis, I'll let you start then, Clive. If you want to kick on with sort of top win from the last couple of weeks.
Well, top win. Really, I think it's getting. We decided that we were going to reorganise our admin support and with maternity leave and everything else. And for the first time, I've used read.co.uk. It's probably all hat to you guys, but it's the first time I've ever had 62 applicants for a job. And so that process has been a massive uplift, and we're quite really excited about being able to set a spec and really get somebody that we want, who's going to be exciting, rather than picking from a short list of about 5, of which only 3 send in a CV, and you're left with a kind of either or sort of scenario.
Best of a bad.
So, yeah, so I think that's been a real shining light. I mean, perhaps it's just the nature of the role puts us into admin and so on, where a lot of the other guys do, but that has been really good. So it's 62 and counting, which I thought was quite good over sort of 2 weeks of Christmas and so on. So yeah,
and one from Norfolk. So
and one from Norfolk, yes.
That one.
Yeah, I think I may not have the same expertise that I need.
Coming down.
But so yeah, so that's my big win. I think is just getting that process sorted.
Good, excellent. Neil.
Well, I would say Christmas in general was a really good period for us, where we sold out, pretty much sold as much as we could have done, which was certainly unlike the last couple of years. So a significant step up, and so something still,
yeah. Good. And do we know what percentage they're up on last time, or money wise?
Actually, overall turnover is down a bit, but in terms of just meeting our expectations, selling everything we expected to sell, could have sold. We hit our targets.
Yeah. Fabulous. Yeah. So did anybody know what Neil does?
Sorry, I should have explained that, didn't I? Yeah. So we're Double H Nurseries as a business. We grow and sell houseplants to supermarkets. So it's orchids for Christmas in cities is a big thing, and we sell them to M&S, Tesco, and Sainsbury's predominantly. So we're kind of specialised in just a few crops to a few customers.
Well, actually, the members forum at the end, if you've got time, can I ask you why my wife's poinsettia every year only lasts about 3 days before the leaves fall off?
Yeah, we're all in that now. They want another before Christmas.
3 days, am I right?
April. What's he doing wrong then?
Another way.
Not going to tell you that.
That's why you sold out.
Good. Paul.
I think that people know me. Paul Davis from Portland. I run a corporate debt recovery company, acting for commercial clients who don't get paid right across the board, from recruitment consultants, transport companies, accountants, and any other business that is owed money. We've had a pretty busy start to the year, actually. I think people have come in and decided that they want to get some money back this year. Our biggest win perhaps came yesterday, actually, when I picked up the phone to someone who had been referred to me, who we have a tentative strategic alliance with. They do credit insurance, and they've got quite a large client that doesn't insure all of their debts, or has quite large excesses on some of them, and she's looking for someone to pick up the tab on those. And certainly yesterday, he's going to send me a number of jobs, which I hope to see this morning, just through a relationship without too much effort, really. But we've got some common interests, but each thing we can't do, we pass over. So that's probably the biggest win this week so far.
Good. Excellent. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Maybe everybody knows, but I mean, we were an advertising design marketing agency. We've been going 30 years, and I suppose really not over just over the last few weeks, but the last couple of months, the biggest win that we've been putting into place actually is we've done quite a shift in what our service offering is going to be. In fact, the kind of work that we provide to clients. Obviously, we still do the whole range of design and marketing people, but we've actually taken on board and we've signed up with this American software company that specialises in kind of marketing software called HubSpot, which is to do with what's called inbound marketing, which is sort of latest buzzword. But in effect, it's actually taking all aspects of the whole gamut of digital marketing in virtually every kind of thing that you can think of that's to do with digital marketing. So whether that's your website, your e-newsletters, your social media, online advertising, search engine optimization, the whole range of it. And it's actually software that will track everything to do with your marketing, so it can improve the return on investment in effect, right the way through to sales. And in effect, the process is developing content that you produce as a value to your potential customers that attracts them because they're searching for that information over the internet or whatever form. And there's a complete process by which that runs through that then, hopefully, over a period of time, turns those into clients. So it's quite a big thing. And the big shift is that then that we provide that as a service, as a monthly fee service that's ongoing. And it takes quite a commitment from clients to buy into the software that you buy from HubSpot. And it ain't cheap. So that's a big shift.
Return on investment.
So hopefully that is how we're going to get into the bigger clients.
Good, excellent.
So it's quite. I mean, we're having to. We know a lot of it, and a lot of the sales process, sales funnel process, and so on. It's all fairly standard, but it's the way that it's all put together using all the latest technology, and we're having to learn tremendous amount.
But the good thing is you can use it for yourself and
absolutely, that's the whole point. You use it. We use it for ourselves to start with, and then we use it then to sell to clients, potential clients.
Good, Megan.
We say we preserve your memories. I have a retail shop in Hyde. We process anybody's images into photographs, canvases, board prints, collages. We go from sort of 3.5, 5.5 up to big posters. We do photo books. The shop started off as an electrical shop, so we sell irons and kettles, computer leads, audio leads, and SD cards, and all that sort of thing. In Hyde.
And
we have a website, and now we've got one of these fancy Google things where you can walk around the shop.
Good. Is that your win, or what's your
my win
win?
is that we actually beat last year's figures.
You did?
Makes a change
Brilliant.
for us.
Excellent. Good. On sales and profit, or?
On sales.
On sales,
yes, we were 10% up.
Very good.
We were looking for more than that, but at least we were 10%.
But it is a movement forward.
It's a movement forward.
Good.
Yes.
Excellent. Good. Keith.
Christmas is a horrible time for our industry, especially this year with the long thing. The only good thing is that all our engineers have holidays. We can come back to a rush. But as it happens, we came back on the 2nd within the office, and there was 2 server quotes coming back for installation in January. So to us, that's a big win-win. The other big win is that yesterday Microsoft on their website gave us all marketing material because I don't know if anybody knows, but they're stopping actually supporting XP. So all people that sell computers, and we subscribe to Microsoft TechNet, so my engineers can get hotline support either to England, Holland, or America on Microsoft. But we won't be able to do that in a few months' time for XP.
Right.
We've converted most of our clients to Windows 7 or Windows 8, but they've now given us marketing material after announcing it about a year ago and 18 months ago, a real hard-hitting front page flyer that we can actually email
Yeah.
to everybody else that's got XP, because
Getting to move.
they think there's something like 13.5 million computers just in Europe that are still XP. So it's a really good time for them to push a marketing campaign, isn't it, by just withdrawing an operating system. But it's good for our business. So to me, having a bit of Microsoft hit, and then that's spend hundreds of thousands making it in your face.
Yeah.
Give it to us free.
Yeah.
Well, free. They're going to win off it.
Yeah.
So that was a real win-win for us this week.
Excellent. Very good.
Right,
Fine.
yes, I think knowing the figures and in retail, I think it must be a huge
Yes.
I
in
never
high
expected
high
you
street.
went
Yeah,
here.
10% up. I
Very
think
good.
it's fantastic. I mean, I was impressed with selling all of your stock.
Yeah.
I'm
I do.
Well done, Megan. Good start. Good. So, improving your cash flow. So, I sort of sat down to do this and thought, you know, how the hell do I make this sort of not extremely dull and boring and dry? And so, I wanted to sort of just take it back to, I suppose, a little bit about the concepts of money. And there's a lot of things about people's perception of money. So if I just sort of go around, you know, just call out, when I say money, what comes to mind? Well, give me some words that just come straight into your head about money.
Bank balance.
Bank balance. I was thinking of sort of descriptive,
Oh, right.
descriptive words.
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Is that the sort?
Yep.
Standard of life.
Standard of life.
Peace of mind.
Yeah, that's good.
Peace of mind.
Yeah, sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
Having enough.
Having enough. Yeah.
Success.
Success.
You might as well put failure there then for some companies.
Failure. Yeah. So not enough of it. Oh, some just other descriptive words. You know, money, cash. And think of, you know, what people have used in the past.
What, like slang words for you thinking?
Well, yeah, so it could be slang words for money, but describing those people that have got money.
Wealthy.
Wealthy. But what's the descriptive word? Wealthy.
Loaded.
Loaded.
People envious.
Envy.
Envies.
Yeah, envy's a good one.
Filthy rich.
Filthy rich. So filthy.
Yeah, disdain.
Disdain.
Yeah. Shallow.
Shallow. Well, that's probably more the people, but
Yeah.
you know, there's that sort of dirty,
Greed.
dirty, filthy greed. Okay. So if you actually sort of do this, if you do it in a sort of a group situation, ask people to come up with these sort of describing words, you tend to get about a 50-50 balance between negative connotations of cash and positive connotations. You know, that money is the root of all evil. You know, greed, you know, too much money makes you turn you into a bad person. And everybody has a different belief system around money. So it depends on how you're brought up, you know, and sort of your sort of whether it's your working class background, middle class background, upper class background. That has a big impact on how you actually perceive money. So what happens is whatever belief system that we've grown up with, we will bring into our business work. So if you've got a mindset around, you know, money, envy, filth, greed, you know, and money is the root of all evil, then what is your relationship then with money? Yeah, do you think you'll be in a position where you're going to be attracting it in?
I don't think you'll strive so much than if you look the other way.
You certainly won't.
And put successful, words like successful back into your mindset.
Yeah.
Because one is negative, the other one will actually push you forward.
Yeah. So you certainly won't go chasing it,
No.
you know, and you won't go sort of pushing for it. and there's a chance that if it's there, you will start repelling it. There's a concept we talk about, the law of attraction, that we attract the things that we focus on, and if you're focusing on the negative side of money, that's what you're going to get. You'll see that. If you want to look for all of this stuff, then you'll see it. And the papers are a great place to actually do this. They will quite happily show all the bad things about the wealthy people. And just look at what happens with the lottery winners. As soon as they've won the money, what do the press then want to do?
Slag you off, dig deep and find a way.
So X Factor, all this publicity about how wonderful you are until you become a star, just so that we can put you up there and then we can just throw things at you.
I think there's a slightly interim thing with money. I think is that a lot of people want money, but there's a point in the sand so it becomes too much or not. Yeah. So even in business, I think everybody wants money, but it becomes a point in a lot of our lives where we think that some people get paid too much for argument's sake.
Yeah.
And therefore it's not money as a whole. It actually, after a while, it becomes the amount and not necessarily the concept of the idea of money.
But then the amount is, again, this is where it's almost irrelevant. Because if you look at the sort of people who are extremely wealthy and successful, but are really nice people. So give me some examples of that. So Branson. Okay, nobody begrudges Branson his millions. Yeah. Then you look at somebody who's got loads of money that you think, actually, do they really earn that? So give me an example of a footballer. Yeah. Certainly anybody playing for West Ham at the moment. Week from hell for those guys. But you look at them and say, well, you haven't really earned this, have you? But they're just two people. They're two. Part of it is, they've worked really hard to be as successful as they are. But our viewpoint of whether they've earned the money or not is different based on the value that they bring. So the big thing with all of this is money has no real tangible factor. It's just money. It's just cash. It's then what happens to the person, and it goes back a little bit to their values as to whether they become a good person, Branson, or a bad person with money, whoever you choose to sort of put in that frame. Yeah. Okay. So, and then this is a big factor for ourselves in our relationship with money, how we perceive money, and again, be honest with ourselves. Am I a person that sees money as a real great thing of benefit and does so much fantastic good in the world? Are we a person that looks at it and says actually money can corrupt and can cause problems? Are we a person that actually enough is enough? And when we get to that point of just being comfortable, then that's all we should actually do. So a bit of a socialist sort of view of money. But it doesn't matter what view you have, as long as you're aware of what it is. Because it's amazing that your viewpoint of money will be a big factor in how much you get. If you've got that sort of socialist view of enough is enough, then that viewpoint won't allow you to go to that next level. The other big factor, and where I'm coming on from our topic today's point of view, is you're not the only people in your business that are looking after the money. You've got bookkeepers, other members of staff that are actually have their own viewpoint of money. And this can be a big problem, certainly this is where Paul comes in, and you would have seen this before, that you've got people responsible for collecting money who may have a negative view of money. And they see that chasing people for money has actually been a bad thing. Or they might think it's a really good thing and do it too much. You know, I haven't come across many of those people, but I tell you, there's a bloody good to get.
There's some business owners.
You manage a debt collector.
Well, it's the manner sometimes.
It's,
I mean, we used to
yeah.
ditch some suppliers.
Yeah.
Because of the manner in which they.
So everybody has a relationship with money. Yourself, the people you employ, and all of that will impact on how money transfers through your business. Okay, so that's the first thing to really be thinking about, because cash and money flow is just like a river. Okay, it comes into your business and it goes out of your business. And if you can imagine, if you try and put a dam on a river, yeah, what will happen? If you dam a river, what will happen?
The flow stops.
Yeah.
The flow stops, but what happens to the right-hand side of the river?
Effectively, eventually, it should go up. If it doesn't go out.
Yeah, you start hoarding money. Yeah, and a lot of people will look at that hoarding of money and go, "This is a good thing." But actually, in the scale of the river as a whole, is it necessarily a good thing? What happens to the left-hand side? Dries out. So, to me, the perception of money is it should always be flowing through our business. It should be coming in, it should be going out. It should be coming in, it should be going out. And the big thing here is the control. So it's okay to have a dam, yeah, but the dam is there to do what?
Safeguard you for drawing.
A bit of safeguard to control
business,
to control the flow of the river. Okay, so that we have a dam, so we can have a bit of a store in case of drought times. Yeah, we can let some through if we need to irrigate what's on the left, on the downstream. But the biggest factor of all is if we don't manage that, if we don't keep our eye on that flow and that dam, then this happens. It dries up. An unattended river will eventually silt up, and it will change flow. It'll you know, from geography, the Oxbow Lake, you know, so essentially I remember from geography is an Oxbow Lake. It will then divert somewhere else. If we don't manage our flow through our business, the money will divert somewhere else. And obviously we all know what happens when money diverts somewhere else. We don't get our share and the business will suffer. So the big thing from this, the mindset around money is what is our relationship with it? What is our belief system around it? And it is what it is. Okay, and then you can decide whether that's good or bad and work on it. It's not just our mindset, it's the people that are in our team that are also involved in the cash aspect. We've got to understand their mindset around it. And then, above all else, what we've got to actually make sure that we do is pay attention to it. We've always got to pay attention to the cash within the business. And as business owners, yeah, and you know, if you go back to the whole aspect of you know, if we're sitting in this room as shareholders, let's just say we were just a group of shareholders in our businesses. You know, we didn't work in them. We just come together on a regular basis as shareholders to discuss what we should do. What are we actually interested in as shareholders of our business?
Return on investment.
Return on our investment. Okay. So can we get a return if there's no cash to pay us our dividend? No. Okay. So as a shareholder, that's all we're interested in. So if we were now meeting as managing directors of our business, now what are we actually interested in?
Profit.
Whether we can pay the shareholders.
Whether we can pay the shareholders. So at the end of the day, it all comes back to, are we generating enough profit and enough cash to actually service our investors? Now that might be ourselves, but it doesn't matter. It's that mindset that it's for the shareholders' benefit, not for our benefit. And the final point in this is, you know, as a managing director of a company, yeah, who doesn't have any shares, yeah, what is your remuneration? How do you get your cash flow personally?
Got to be through the salary if he's on the
Salary.
Do your salary, yeah, and maybe a performance bonus. Okay, that's it. You're limited to that. As a shareholder, what's your limitation on your income?
There isn't.
There isn't. Okay, and again, this comes back, and I see this so many times about people's mindset around money, is that there's too many people in business and running business with an employee mindset on money. That they go into business thinking, I'm in business so that I can earn myself a salary. Yeah. And if you go in that point of view of I'm here just to earn a salary, then if you've just got a salary, you've therefore got a job. Okay. And what does job stand for?
Just over.
Just over broke. Because there are very, very few people, you know, if you take the world as a whole, a very small percentage that actually don't spend every single penny of their salary. Would you agree? Yeah.
More than that.
Even people that earn, you know, obscene amounts of money, so what's the language here, but earn a lot of money, just spend it. You know. Why not? Life is to be enjoyed. Life is to work on these things. But having a job, that's all we can do. When we put our shareholders' hat on and say, no, we are investors in our business and therefore we want to return on that investment, this disappears. So the potential is far more than ever it would be if you were actually just employed. And again, that's another mindset thing that we've got to think about is, if we go back to our river, you know, our river can be as big or as small as we choose it to be. And a lot of it is about our mindset around, you know, how big we want to be and therefore how much it needs to flow through the business. But the biggest thing is money should always flow. Money should flow in, money should flow out. And I probably see more problems in businesses that put the dam up and hoard cash than I do in a business that is struggling day-to-day cash flow. I mean, you probably see a lot of clients and do their books and see the difference.
Yeah, the problem is when you get a full up dam, it's very hard sometimes in the mindset to turn it back on.
Yeah.
Massive problem.
Yeah.
Because they've got used to that dam for water and how they're going to spend it as a personal lifestyle or something else.
Yeah.
So totally forget or negate how the business can grow.
Yeah.
Without the money going, without the water flowing out, it
Yeah.
can't grow.
And the big thing that kicks in there is our view of risk. Somebody who hoards money isn't a risk taker. And therefore, the more you've got, what's the bigger risk? The more I've got,
More I can lose.
the more I can lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more I've got, if I'm sitting on £500,000 of cash, I'm going, I won't lose that. That's a lot of money. So what happens is that sort of risk profile actually goes down.
You can hardly ever change that. We had somebody in December sitting on over £1 million worth of cash, and we put some upgrade software in about 5 new computers. You put the software back 3 months,
Yeah.
395 quid.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing this cash flow, but he's got it in his mind that if this goes red, red to him,
Yeah.
and it totally stops him thinking actually rationally over a few quid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Because it's that risk profile of, you know, the fear of loss over the fact that 395, what can I gain? And it becomes very negative. I'm trying to think. There's an old story. I've just watched The Hobbit at Christmas. Did you watch The Hobbit?
Yeah.
And the dwarves.
Yeah.
You know, their downfall was the fact that they got greed and held on to their wealth, where everyone else outside was not benefiting from that wealth.
typical Scrooge, isn't it?
And then the dragon came in
Yeah.
and killed it all. But you know, okay, and this is the beauty of these stories is it's a story, but actually it is about how people think, and that's how we communicate. That's how we taught this stuff many years ago, was through these little sort of parables and fables. So the biggest factor in cash flow management is how much attention we pay to it. The more attention we pay to it, the more we're aware of it, the better it will be. So if we look at this and say, well, how can we improve cash flow? There's only two ways. There's only two ways we can improve cash flow. One is we can turn it up and bring more in. Yeah. And the other one is we can turn it down and actually spend less. Or spend it on more things that will actually generate income up here. Okay, so it's not complicated. This is not about all these sort of bizarre creative ways. This is actually quite simple stuff to do. But like most simple things, it's not always easy, and it takes time and effort to actually focus on it. So if we go back to the roots of business is actually very simple. Yeah. It's all the bits that we put on it that seems to make it complicated. But when you come back to anybody's end results at the end of the year, when we all produce our set of accounts, pretty much everybody's set of accounts looks like everybody else's set of accounts. Would you not agree, Kim?
Unfortunately, it's got to be the same thing. It's the way this country and every other country in the world works. Yeah,
they have to be the same. But then, at the root of it, they are the same. Money comes in. Money goes out, and at a point in time, you've got stuff. So this comes back to our good old double entry in my day, and was it later on in Keith's day? We had these things called T accounts. Okay, so it was a T, and on one side, on the left-hand side, we have our what's on the left-hand side? What these are called?
Creditors, your debtors on your left, creditors on your right.
Debits. So we've got debits on the left, credits on the right. Okay, that goes back to the 1800s, whatever it is, when the accounting systems were sort of made. We have a debit, which is either an asset or an expense. And the simplest way I've found to describe this is, where's the money gone? So in a way, this is the outflow. Okay, where's the money gone? The money's gone in expenses, or it's gone into assets. It's either gone into the bank, yeah, or it's gone into equipment, stocks, debtors. Because it's not, you come into my office, my cash isn't sitting there in a big pile. It'd be nice if it was actually one day. just have a money bath once would be quite nice, wouldn't it? But it's not actually in the office. It's gone somewhere. So it's either left the building completely, or it's sitting in one of these. So that's the outflow. That's the plug, sort of the drain as it goes out. The inflow is it can only come in from a few sources. It can come in through our sales, or it can come in through, we call them liabilities, but people have lent us money. So they've lent it through supplying us goods and not actually asking for the money. It's coming through loans, or it's coming through the share capital.
It's the first time I've ever understood that.
I'm glad
You're always the wrong way.
I tell you what, 99% of bookkeepers nowadays actually don't know the difference between a debit and a credit, because they've all been brought up on computers. Sage is 7.5 million, for instance, companies around the world. In the UK, it's just under 1 million. Does double entry for you, which is great until something goes wrong. They actually don't know how to put anything right. In the old days, as I said, we had a piece of paper, and every time you had these 20 questions, you had to have 40 answers, 20 this side and 20 that side. So when you got to the bottom, it was 0.
And it's
great.
And no one taught me in accounts when I learned accounts this. it was the first time I ever did T accounts. It blew my head. I had no idea how. What do you mean? If they just said, look, it's money in, money out. Oh yeah, I can get that. Even my simple brain can work that one out. So it can only come in, and it can only go out. So all we've got to do in cash flow then is work on this, where our money comes in, and work on this, where our money goes out. 2 things to focus on. So what we're going to do now for the next part of the meeting is, I'm not going to sit here and tell you all the things to do. I want you guys to interact and learn from what you've done, but around these 2 things. The first thing we're going to do, I'm going to come back. Okay. What we're going to do first is work on the money yield. The money yield. Okay. So what can we do to actually improve the money coming into our business?
Ask for it.
Okay, so on your tables you've got a piece of paper there. I want you to come up with as many ideas on bringing money into the business. Okay, so around this side, around the credits. So we want to increase the credits within our business.
This is a general discussion.
Just on the tables, yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes out, it comes out.
First started, I had some friends who ran a very simple business, and they were doing extremely well, but it was one through one legal doing very, very well. Insurance payments, and they had a lot of money, making good money, good profit, and a lot of revenue at the bank. And they wanted to just refurbish their office and make sure they worked at the business. And the bank went, well, you've got the money there. Of course. They had no.
Yeah. It's too much account. I'm sure it comes out.
We were trying to buy
things like that. I think there's a lot you
got
can
that.
Certainly over the last few years, no. And if it is, if they just stand on their head, they're fine.
My mindset was always, you only have what you can afford. So spend in the old days, you bought it when you had the money for it.
Nowadays, a lot of the software we use in the studio, traditionally we buy the software and it would only come in a box and so on and so forth. And then you having this hassle about doing upgrade or not, and then we have this is upgrading that is, so we can't remember where that came from anywhere. But nowadays we pay, it's all basically paid on a monthly subscription. You always get that done. But the other biggest thing that we pay on Thursday
because we have projects that go over quite a long period of time, is it just the value of progress invoicing?
Yeah,
Different sales definitely a stage of payments is 30%.
Yeah. Because we could have the worst scenario that happened is we did a very big project, like there was a really secure client. We did a project which went on and on and on, it was quite substantial. And we didn't support it for a year. And the trouble is, it's almost impossible then to charge the costs. Because if you do every month, they say, oh, we did that, and it adds up. Then if you add it all up and say, here's what I've done at the end of the year,
more efficient process to make sure that
because we do the commercial side, not the service side.
how quickly
Change.
But you need to reduce your overhead. You really need to reduce your overhead. So the people have slightly out rather than what money costs.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah, in the first place, you say, oh, I'll make 10% of it. Well, actually, when somebody investing do it, and I'll have to do this, and I'll have to do that at the end. We have to go
There's lots of songs. You just be, well,
Yeah.
It's not simply so that we've made 10%, actually, you put the investment of the money. So, yeah, you actually, the actual amount you actually make.
Yeah.
It's more district.
So we're involved at the moment in stretching our own.
That's your idea of trying to increase sales.
One of the big things.
This is our advantage in limitation.
Yes, it's both.
Yes,
yeah.
But actually, you've got
Anyway, in terms of getting budget,
It's not.
oh, well, you can.
and therefore the dramatic
It's increasing sales. And
So
so
it was
the problem is the debt is on the other side. That's, this is increasing sales. The natural cash flow is reducing the debt to the net. If something goes down and credits on your bank starts to fill up.
I mean, the other thing we've done with our sales actually
I thought there was some more manufacturing that would pay for their stock.
Yeah, I think
When
see,
it went out of
the
there.
we see a lot of business.
So they
Yeah.
paying stock and they pay a cost on it. And they pay
when you can,
I've never
there are the reality is
In the
not
60 or 90 days, it's like,
because you do the actual thing is paid.
we've never lost a client that we had the service for in the last few months.
I think if you establish the begins,
Yes.
that's how they come to work. And that's secure.
The thing about it for us, when we've done some projects, is that the client might have it, if it's over 2 weeks, they might be able to change of mind, or a change of situation, and suddenly this project can change of mind. I think if they take so much control, that's fine.
That's right, yes.
Even so, if they start, we've got money. What do you call it? But the worst thing is getting halfway through a project.
You forget to add more money on, then you're at that point, or renegotiate.
Sometimes you stop and say, oh, we'll take them or whatever you buy it. And
They stop projects. I suppose in a way we're lucky. Yeah, I've done something in theory. That one of those we're lucky there, so you know, we get it. Everyone pays,
You don't pay for it because you haven't taken delivery of it.
we offer service to you.
So then you draw it down as you need stock and out of your door.
I mean, you can also say, you could do that. You could do that.
Sooner or later.
Yeah, I've got a feeling, I know the manufacturing company, you know, with all the aluminium, steel, and everything else, they could use that.
But even
stock, you know, stuff like that. It's all about, they still purchase huge amounts of mix. They don't pay for it, they take delivery of it, and then they throw it down.
Well, yeah.
I'll take checks.
They make a commitment.
They're all in the same ethos.
Effectively,
We've got those sections and you're stuck in difficult.
Yeah.
When they come in.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it's up to them to manage
Certainly
that.
in the last 4 or 5 years, it's been hard.
Really bad with trying to do
The ups and downs.
Then, you know, another lesson we learned was just the getting the invoices out.
Yeah, I like it. I've got a copy of it. I will take that. I then
Doing the job and actually just don't get the invoices out.
Well, we do it, we have a
It's a brand new.
people don't get their invoices unless they stop, we basically get it from cash flow. And that's, I enforce that with everyone, get the invoices, most of you do it.
Yeah.
But don't get them late that month end, because it's the easiest excuse for your customers to say that you've got your invoice late there. Especially with corporates, but we sign a contract on 90s, they're making systems.
One more minute on this, and then we'll,
So also actually
share.
finding, particularly larger clients, when they've got updates, because if you get it in, if it just goes into the next, it just goes, it's just another month later or another 2 months.
Don't tell that team you go and you chase some money for, don't even know that's happening.
Our customers actually offer
It's
all down to them.
Oh, the council is the world's worst. They are the world's worst.
Because, you know, you go from yesterday, and then things are sort of 3 tiers before they.
Yes, the finance department are totally devoid for the nice lady who dealt with the government job. And then of course they said, well, she's in this department, it hasn't come through to this department, it will go back to you for that part, they've got to try and find it. But I mean, once you get to know people, it's 3 months, you know, make sure that your invoice, they look out, that it's a 90-day account.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is find out what the costs of the client or incentives process, because if they won't pay anything without an order. Because well, sometimes you ask them to work, so I went, oh well, we'll send it to you. And then you have got a purchase order, and you know if we send it to you, the invoice and everything comes straight back. So it's understandable to see that.
Push everybody before we can. And they say at the beginning of the month.
Order is left, and that's what incentives which will be out. Which we do, because we know the system, so it goes out every day, and then when the invoice comes out, it goes half the hour, which is great thing, because we're not matching up. It's very valid coming up with what they charge, what they make.
Okay, let's bring it to a conclusion there. So we're going to focus on cash in. So how do we increase the cash flow into the business? So you know, so I suppose
Is this after increasing the sales?
sorry?
Is this after increasing?
This is
the sales?
yeah. I mean, I'll take increase in sales as you know, we can definitely have that. Take it as a rate. Just whatever we can do to increase sales. Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest differences that we make, because we get involved with projects that can run over a long period of time, the traditional way was that you invoice the client when you finish the project.
Yeah.
And we once did a project that went on for a year.
Yeah.
And it was a very big one, and it was very successful. But in effect, trying to then charge the client 3 years worth of work in one go.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a very good client, they still are, and they pay on time and so on. But in effect, trying to get the value of that, all the work you've done over a year in one invoice was almost impossible, because if you'd had added up all the time you really spent on that job,
Yeah.
it was almost impossible to do.
So on a bigger job, so
With progress invoice.
invoice as you go.
Stage pay, yeah.
So
Stage
you got
Yeah, which we do a lot now, and
and stage payments.
yes, we very rarely, we've only had one or two clients query that. One, mainly ones that pay us extremely well at the end.
Yep.
But the majority have been fine. And taking that one stage further, when we get new clients now, we're much more confident to ask for payment up front, or part payment up front. And the big advantage of that is if sometimes projects change or they change their mind halfway through a project. We just don't want a musician. His father was paying the money and decided he suddenly did go off to like a training school to learn how to promote himself better. So we had a 3-4 month project and he kind of stopped it after us, but he'd actually paid us up front for the first chunk of it. So in a way we were quite happy to finish that off because we weren't then chasing the money because he chases the paid it already. And that makes a massive difference to our.
Actually, the reality is that people would rather get a bill £1,000 a month than 10 grand at the end of the year anyway.
It can definitely be.
It's just it's being on top of that and organising that before you get involved in the project.
And you also know by invoicing £1,000 a month instead of 10 grand at the end of the year, well, they've actually got the cash flow. Rather than get to the end of the year and find out.
I mean, I always think also look outside your particular industry, because sometimes these things aren't done as a general rule in your industry. But then go back to your client base and think, well, this client base, what do they normally do in other aspects of their business?
You've got to ask what their terms are for trading with you, because a lot of people don't ask that. They get a job and say, well, we invoiced you on the 1st of the month. They say, well, our terms is paying you 90 days. Well, at that point, you've done it. You can't go back and renegotiate your term of payment.
And again, the other thing we learn a lot is to understand what Keith was saying, really, how that company operates. So they might have a cut-off date of the 20th of each month. And if the invoice is in before that date, then that goes into a certain check run, whether it's 30, 60 or 90. If it's after that date, it just goes on another one. So if you understand all that, then you realise we've got to get that invoice out. Because again, when we first started, we'd wait till the end of the month, faff about with invoices, or we didn't quote that, and then we'd get away with it. So it'd be later and later and later. And of course, you were almost losing a whole month just by getting the invoices out. Whereas if you get them in advance, then
and it can just be dating one day earlier, so rather than the 1st of January and 31st of December, will make a whole month's difference on when you get paid.
It's also important to bear in mind that that's just not corporate. You look at initially my client base, we've sold sales in nearly 300 businesses over the 30 years. Most people get into the habit of pulling off their creditors, if you like, your money, on the last day of the month following. And they pay it that way. Most of them do, because it's easier as small businesses to do it that way. You've only got to get it in on the 8th or 9th. We're the same. We don't get it by the 7th, we're in the next month. And we actually date it February. If we don't get it before the 7th of February, we date January's invoice February.
That month is closed, so I'm not going to put it into that month.
Why should we change our bookkeeping just because our client or our suppliers actually can't get their act together? And it works both ways as far as cash goes. And so it's critical we have this, that none of our invoicing goes out later than the end of the 3rd of the month following. So we invoice almost weekly, or else we couldn't do it in 3 days. Because just, all my businesses are trained the same way to pay debtors and creditors. This month we're talking about my customers' creditors. And we do it in strict date, because if you're small businesses, and the bookkeeper might only work 2 days a month, or 2 days a week, where we do book. My daughters perhaps when I go in on Wednesday or Friday, and they will be doing the debt checks, they will be doing the paying. So if it isn't there when it should be, she won't put it into next week. So those companies, when they ring up, say, well, it's not in our books yet. So it's not just corporates; it works just as much in the small businesses.
And I think the other big thing with that is, picking up on that point, if you've got somebody coming in every now and then to do the books, how much relationship to the cash coming into your business has that person actually got?
Very little.
None. So they will just come in and do what they're told to do. They will follow the system. And one of the worst things, one of the dangerous things is with accounts packages, it will generally default the invoice date to today's date. So they will just go through and they will just start posting invoices today's date without thinking that actually, if I dated it, the work was done 3 weeks ago, and the date should be when it was done, and therefore reduce that credit terms, even if it is sent late, because they're only in once a week, once a month. Date it earlier, because that will mean it will be paid earlier. But they don't think, because it's not their cash, it's not helping. And the account system is just done for simplicity that the invoice date will be that particular date. So getting the invoices, getting the invoices done on time. We used to have a client or a supplier that did his invoices once a year.
Right.
This at Donaldson's, we had a maintenance guy that used to come round. Tony Phillips, did you ever deal with him? Lovely guy. How the hell he survived? I think he just billed everybody and then lived off that for the whole year. But you'd be waiting. Then you get a bill for £13,000. What the hell was this? And you have to remember all the jobs. He was always right, but God, how he actually dealt with his cash. But he was so busy that he never had time to do the invoices, which is just, it is crazy. So how else? So what we're looking at here is getting the invoices done on time, getting the cash in on invoices. So how else can we encourage cash on invoicing becoming quicker?
Well, early payment discounts.
Early payment discounts, good.
Incentives.
Yeah.
Or even actual penal. You can go the other way. Recruitment consultants tend to penalise if you don't pay on time.
Yeah.
Because they'll take their rebates away, or they'll.
Yeah.
So actually, their invoices will go up. So
who has interest on late payment on their T's and C's? Who enforces it?
Very rarely.
Very rarely, yeah.
I mean, it's a really good one. That as soon as they're over, again, this comes back to our debt collection process. Is they sign the T's and C's, so they should be aware of them. And if you're going to do this, I would recommend you physically talk about it. And people will go, yeah, that's okay. And as soon as they are late, you send them an invoice with the interest on it. Because they get that and they go, what the hell is this? You can't do this. And they'll phone you up. And they go, well, look, it's just our process. Sorry, it's an automated process. As soon as you're late, you'll get one of these. Yeah. But I'm happy to waive it if you pay within 7 days. We'll do that. And just the threat, I mean, the good one was New Forest Growers with the oil.
Yeah.
I think they did it on a discount, but if you missed it by 1 day, boom, you had the extra bill, and you only got. And it's like credit cards, with the interest on the credit. If you miss that payment by 1 day, you get charged interest, and if you try and phone them up, and negate it, it's interest. The charges they can, and it's worth phoning them up, saying, I'm really sorry, we'll waive the charge. But the interest, they say, no, that's the T's and C's. And you just have to go, oh yeah, I knew that, and it's my fault, and then you move on. But you don't make the mistake again.
What we do, we have the late payment charge, but we have credit card machines, but because if we're not careful, a lot of our parents come in to pay their monthly bill on their credit card, which is fine, but actually it costs for us, £500, £600, £700 a month going through on it. So we sort of stop that, but we'll say there's a late payment charge, there's a credit card machine there that we will allow you, and we won't add the extra 3% on. So there's a bit of carrot stick, and also the credit card comes out, it could be 5% more, or
Again, cash is always king. It's better to have the cash. If it costs us a few percent, you're only going to have one bad debt, to lose 20 people that can pay on credit cards. Okay. So anything else? What else can we do to encourage people to pay earlier?
Well, certainly make sure your statement then gets out.
Send out statements.
Because a lot of people won't pay unless you do receive statements.
Statements with loads and loads of red ink. You know, it's amazing. We are still, conditioned that red is danger.
Red is fine.
Red is final. Just put it on there. Make it bloody clear. Because you've got to understand who you're actually dealing with. Most accounts, most businesses that you're going to deal with, and certainly view for people, if they see something that looks a bit scary, you go to the top of the pile. And if people are in credit problems, it's not that they don't want to pay you, it's just they're paying by priority. Who's shouting the loudest gets paid first. So your statements, your letters, they should be shouting as loud as you possibly can to maximise the chance of getting paid early.
We put people on stop. I.e., don't bring your child in on Monday until, and that brings it.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing was stop. Only do it for where they have to have repeat business. Yeah. It doesn't
go off elsewhere.
If it then sends them off elsewhere. But if they're depending on you, I mean, IT, don't pay your bill, we switch your server off. Your websites, you don't pay your bill, you switch. You don't pay your phone bill, we switch your phone off. That's just brilliant if you can do that, but it's just not going to supply you. It does help if all your eggs aren't in one basket. If you did that to Sainsbury's or one of those guys, it can be a little bit painful.
But if you've got a large bill, an important bill, sometimes it's worth phoning up to make sure that it's been received and it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do it for everything because you spend your life on the phone, but certainly if it's an important invoice, sometimes it's worth just phoning up and saying, look, has it been received? Is it now in your ledger? And people often say, yeah, I've got it. Yeah, and it's been put on and give you a payment date for it.
I think that's great, and it's also about if you've got bigger clients, you must have a relationship with their credit controllers. And this when we were dealing with Sainsbury's, saved us fortunes because our lady could speak to their lady and go, look, really could do with a couple of invoices paid early. Could you just slip them through? Yeah, go on. I mean, at certain times with Sainsbury's we were on 7 days credit. Just because we had a relationship, we phoned them up to them. It's really tough. We're only a small business. You're a big supplier. Could you just sneak something through? Yeah, okay. That's lovely, thanks. So this, to me, in the bigger businesses, is so important. Have that relationship with the people that can actually make things happen. It doesn't have to be the boss, but with the people on the shop floor.
We've actually found that a benefit the other way around. So one of the biggest hassles we have in terms of suppliers we use are the big publishing companies and media houses that run the trade magazines or the trade websites and stuff that we place advertising on. Unfortunately, because a lot of work we do is just in one or two market sectors, it tends to be maybe the same publisher publishes 20, 30 titles. And one in particular is a massive one. They were running their accounts out of India. And we just had a guy who would ring up every day. And in the end, through some other meetings, we got hold of some director based in the UK and said, look, we've been dealing with you for 30 years. Will you stop it? And we're querying these and these things because their accounts were a mess. There was always things under query, but they've been querying every day. And in a way, getting a relationship with people we have to pay and sort that out better actually helped our cash flow. Because what they do, because they're such a large company, they then get very aggressive in terms of threatening legal action, even if it's something they've not resolved properly, because they can't. Because the guy in India is trying to talk to you, just insane.
Yeah. So what we've done here is I think we've looked at pretty much most of the debt side of things. So what about the other assets? What can we do with the other assets in the business? in order to again, to speed up this flow of cash.
We've looked at financing in different ways.
Financing, yeah.
Whether it be asset-based lending or overdraft or whatever it is. So
if we're heavy on fixed equipment, yeah, we can look at actually our money's tied up in here. We can actually say, right, well, let's finance it. Yeah, we'll increase credit to the loan, but actually then generate some more cash. Yeah, so we can look at refinancing assets.
Well, that's the same thing as increasing your stock turn in the year. If you can get it from 40 to 42, that's a massive.
Yeah.
If you're holding a lot of stock, even for small businesses that are only holding 40 or 50,000, get that down by 10,000 over a year. Yeah. That's straight into your cash flow.
Well, that's a big one. Anybody that holds stock, yeah, there should be a strategy to reduce the stock holding. Yeah, what can we do to reduce stock holding? Because the smaller that can be, yeah, if there's less in here, there's more in there. Less in stock, more in cash.
My most effective way of doing that is reducing the capacity of the stock.
yes. You're absolutely right. The more storage you've got, I tell you, the more you want.
Yeah.
Just stop the shelf.
And that's like, if you go into the big retail, you know, there used to be a time where you'd go into a shop and they didn't have your size. You could say, you know, well, have you got my size? And they'd go out into the stock room, wouldn't they? And they'd come back with, 3 pairs that you could try on. Now you go in there and say, well, it's not on the shelf, we haven't got it. Because they've just got on the basis we can't afford to keep stock. Our stock room is our sales room.
Which is what the big supermarket, like being here with home base, the stock now is above where you walk.
Yeah.
You walk into their big sheds and every bit of floor space is shown that is selling space.
So, and the other thing is, if you've got £100 sitting in stock, you spent £100 on your stock. Okay, how much cash is tied up in that? £100. That's right. Okay. If you're going to sell it, and let's say we sell at 100% markup, okay, we'll ignore that. So we want that £100 to generate what? £200. Okay. If that item is sitting in stock longer than it should do, how much money is that £100 generating? Nothing. So people and you come across this a lot, is people hold on to stock because, well, I paid £100 for it, I want £100 back, or I want £200 back, and then they'll say, well, I've done the sale and I've tried to sell it for 150, yeah, and still it's not in stock, but I can't go any lower than that because I've got to protect my margin, which makes sense to a point, but actually, it's only that process that actually works. So what if we then sold this for 50 quid? So we had 2 of these and we sold them for 50 quid.
Cash flow still goes up by 50 quid.
So our cash goes up by 50 quid. So if we just sell it for £50, we'd have to sell 2 of those to get £100. If we then reinvested that into stock that will sell, we can make it back within a month. So actually, by selling stuff at below cost and making a loss on it, but turning it quicker, within a month we can get our money back, and then we can invest in that product that then sold again, and then within 2 months we've actually made money again. Whereas if it sits there in stock because we don't want to sell it for that, it's not doing us any good at all. And this is where you see people with all this stock that's just sitting there, it's just not, it's got to flow. They're hanging on to it. I can't sell it for less than £100 because, I paid £100 for it. Tough. If it's not sold and it's not likely to sell, get rid of it, turn it into something that's going to
in their mind, they actually haven't lost them. If it's sitting on the shelf at 100, they don't actually visualise, you actually have lost 100 because you haven't sold it in your original 200. They never ever see it as that. It's on the shelf. Oh, it's still 100 quid. No, it's not. You can't sell it, is it?
Do you have any sort of rule of thumb for valuing the cost of holding that stock? Well, obviously, it takes up space and
Yeah.
the money's tied up. Is there a simple way of?
It depends. It depends on the setup. If it's empty space, as Megan said, I've got this massive factory, it just sits there. And I have that space anyway.
Yeah.
You can say, well, what's the opportunity cost of this? Nothing. It doesn't matter if I hold it.
It also depends on the stock, because some things will depreciate quickly, others, some things will be out of date before others. I mean, it's consumables, sometimes these things disappear very quickly.
I
you end up chucking it out, actually.
I think there is an element of saying, look, there's a cost of holding that, but I think the cost of holding it is this. I buy £100 because I want £200. I should sell it in a month, if that's the time frame. If I don't sell it in a month, I have to get rid of it so I can then put something in there that will sell for £100. I mean, in a way, the opportunity cost is it's taking up space that I could put something else on the shelf that would sell for £200. And that's how the supermarkets look at it. If your product is sitting on the shelf for too long, they will withdraw that lot. Because I could put some other product on there that would generate me my £100.
It also depends whether it's a product that sells in its own right or it's a product part of the process. So that the equation, how long it sits there, is totally different. Because in 12 months' time, you might then get a batch of work that would use that material in that process. That material might cost £150 to buy. So, manufacturing, some of that stuff may have to sit there because that's the way manufacturing businesses work with product.
Yeah,
if there's something you can sell in its own right, it's that.
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of, we have a choice to buy in bigger batches from China or smaller, more flexibly from European suppliers in some cases, and Europe generally costs a bit more. How much more is it worth? To get that speed.
Can you buy it in smaller amounts, therefore you don't have to spend so much cash on it?
I think you've got to look at, well, what does it cost me per square foot to store? Because there is especially for you, there is a cost of that extra storage. And B is the wastage. The more stock you hold, the higher your wastage will be at the end of the process. But if you go back into bigger industry, it's all on just in time. They'd much rather pay a little bit more for just in time than they would for holding stock.
We've also got to look at the money involved on lead times. The lead times from China might be a lot more than the lead time from France or Italy. And therefore, if you're running low, it might be a lot easier to get it from Italy on a small amount that costs you more money. But you might be able to turn that dearer product round into money into you, than perhaps wait a bit more buying larger volumes from China. I've got lots of customers now looking at nearer base, although it is cheaper. Mind you, China putting their prices up quite a bit at the moment. I've got lots of people now moving back into the EU and Turkey. I know Turkey aren't in the EU because they're in just a bigger slump. The pricing at the moment is, they're getting very, very competitive. But China, what you have to hold is amazingly different.
It's just going to go up and up. Transport costs and their cost of living is going up. The way it's always been. Japan was cheap, does well, comes up. China's going to do the same, then it will move to probably South Africa. And you'll see people start to invest now in South Africa, and they'll come up, and then you'll get to this equilibrium sort of situation, and then you'll have nowhere to go. It'll have to be sort of local, and then it's all back to relationships again. What we're going to look here. So I'm just going to run through my sort of cash in. Require partial full deposits. We've done that. Get projects done. Certainly, if you've got longer lead times, the quicker we can actually get it to a point where we can say, well, that part's done. Therefore, we're going to do an invoice. Bill straight away. Systemize the process. Give 7-day terms. Why do you need to give 30 days? Go for 7 as a default and give them 30 if they ask for it. It's amazing how few people will query something if it's important to them. But again, understand their terms as well. But even if you do know, even if their terms are 30 days, negotiate. Well, what would it take to actually get you to pay in 7 days? Maybe you need to give a little bit of cash. But again, cash is always key with this. Send multiple bills, invoices, so it's just regular points of contact, systemize it. So invoice goes out before the end of the month, the statement. So always send the statement out before they do the payroll run. Sorry, the pay run. No point in doing a statement after they've done a pay run because it's been thrown away. Discounts, add interest on that one. Outsource the whole process.
Brilliant idea.
Give it to somebody else. and this is really can be true for service based, where you've got a relationship and you don't want to take that relationship, and it is really hard. I mean, I hate it. I hate chasing money. Don't listen to that because I've outsourced it.
No one pays.
Who loves
you won't need
chasing
to pay. He won't phone you up.
You certainly got to be hard-skinned to chase. Not everybody can do it.
It's smart. And also, it's personal. I've got the personal relationship. That's why the bookkeeper and an external, they don't have a relationship. So if they piss you off, well, so what? They're not seeing you next week. And you can play the good cop, bad cop. Oh yeah, she's a bit like that. She's a bit of a rottweiler. Yeah, I'll have a word with her, but please make sure you have to pay by the end of the week. Sell unwanted stuff. Sell the unwanted assets. Stock, but also tangible assets, fixed assets. We are creatures of habit and hoarders by nature. So let's get that coming through. Realised stock. Okay.
If anybody is interested, on my website I've got about 7 or 8 sort of updates on how to get cash in. They're on there in the tips.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to go and have a look, talks about from getting it right all the way through to getting it cash in.
Yeah.
It's come from a prompt payment code and effectively ICM through the government. So if anybody wants to have a look at it, it's worth having a look at. It's you want my address? It's www.debtcol.co.uk. It's worth having a look at.
Can I just add one thing there that we've been using it now for 7 years. We're trying to get all our clients into it, and that is scanning. When you're debt chasing, one of the things is, I haven't seen this invoice and whatever. Every single one from any one of our desks in our office, if we're debt chasing or module service debt chasing and say we haven't seen that invoice, we can get that into an email within about 15 seconds. We've got a copy of every single bit of paper that comes in Fund Solutions scanned. So when we're chasing it, we can get that invoice, we can email it while we're talking. Have you got it now? So we try to answer all these queries instantly by getting an email while we're talking to them. It's easy enough. We can, as I say, we can find it within 5-10 seconds. Any sales invoice that we produce, and we can get it emailed. What's your email? Sorry, John, we haven't got that. Give us that again. If just we'd like to wait 2 minutes, it'll be with you. Very important that you can lay your hands on pieces of paper that they say they haven't got.
Yeah. So you using sort of technology within this. Yeah. So if we turn this around, then look at the cash out items. So how do we start to control the cash going out of the business? Again, relationships, suppliers. You should always be working, negotiating with suppliers on better rates. Not necessarily cheaper, because if you keep asking suppliers for cheaper, something's going to give. It's going to be quality, level of service. But working with them, it's all about value. They might be able to help you. I know you guys are talking about sort of dropship. So you buy the stock up front, and you contract to buy £100,000 of stock over the next year, but you only draw down and pay for what you need as you go. Because they know that they're going to sell £100,000, but you're only buying bits as and when you need it. Now, would you pay a little bit extra for that service? Yeah. I certainly would, because it's not affecting my cash flow straight up. I don't have to buy £100,000 straight up. The other thing is space. I don't have to worry about the space, you know, where I need it. So they just drop ship just in time as and when it's required.
The thing about terms is making sure that your cash goes out pretty much on the same term, on your own terms as it comes in. I see so many people that are still paying on 15 or 30 days, and yet
Giving 30, yeah.
what they're paying on 30,
Yeah.
you're giving 60.
Yeah.
There's a massive lag in between getting the cash and going out. It's fine if you've got the cash, you've got the, you know, the capital to do it, but you know, a lot of businesses don't, and you know, they're always trying to find the cash to buy their suppliers on time when they're not getting paid on their own terms.
That's a big thing.
I think most businesses on cash flow only ever concentrate on getting it in. But for some reason, business people think cash flow is all about getting my debtor days down. No, it's also about making sure you don't pay out.
Yeah.
As you say, quicker than you get your debtor days down.
You know, and if you're good at getting the money in quicker, guaranteed most people aren't. You know, and therefore, you know, you can play to that strength because you're on top of it, you're looking at it. Rent reviews. You know, this is an amazing one. You know, landlords at the moment, you know, if you are renting, they're thankful that they've got somebody in their property. You know, and the negotiation with them and talking to them and being open and honest with them, say, look, you know, cash is a bit tight at the moment. Do you mind if we, you know, we pay a little bit? We pay rather than quarterly, we pay monthly. Whether you sort of say, well, look, you know, really could do with a holiday here for a couple of months. You know, can I put it back? You know, again, it's the relationships with these people that if you've got a good relationship before you ask for it, you're much more likely to actually get it when you actually do. Review all overheads. Yeah, I think I put down here overhead of the month. So you've got phone bills, rent, you know, insurances that come up every single year at a certain point in time. Get it in the diary, get somebody to take charge of that and to negotiate and to come up with, to at least look at it. Otherwise, these things just tend to creep up and up and up and up, and suddenly you're paying over the odds. Or you're paying for things you don't use anymore. One of the worst ones, I mean, I realised the other day, you know, when I was working at home, I had a fax line and a telephone line. And you know, and my fax machine's been sitting there for 6 months. And the only faxes I get are those women lease car things. Or debt collectors, yeah. And I'm thinking, well, I'm paying £10, it's not a lot, but it's £10 a month I don't need to pay. Yeah. So, you know, but somebody's got, it may not be you, charge somebody to put it in the diary, right, you will look at these costs and see what you can do about it. Look at your space. You know, give it back. You know, if you've got a big space, give it back, sublet it out. You know, you might have, you know, expanded, contracted, you've got a bit of space. You know, there's people out there that will rent a desk. You know, there's always ways to sort of, you know, make most of what you've got. Go online, although that's too much choice there. I actually asked somebody to pay, and they said we haven't got fax facility. This is a big company. Well, I think it's a fairly big company. They can't say, can we send you a check? Use the phone. Change basic pay to productivity pay. It's a bit more complicated, that one. I think we talked about this one. Email the invoices. You know, get the invoices out on an email. So, you know, A, you save the postage. You know, B, it goes to the right point. Presumably, you still have to do electronic, so everything just gets batched over. Yeah. I mean, the big challenge we had around that was one invoice wrong would then backlog everything else.
Yeah.
And so it's always that, and know when they should pay, and if they don't pay that day or the day after, get on the phone. Because what we found is you go, oh, they haven't paid, so we'll give them a week. They don't pay, oh, should we phone them up? 10 days later, you then phone them up, oh, well, we haven't got this.
Yeah, it's not someone's decision to pay, it's automated.
This is-
There's a problem as opposed to it's someone's individual saying, oh, let's not pay that today. It's because there is a problem, it's not been put on the system to pay, and therefore it's automated.
Exactly. So know the system and know when it goes wrong, because it doesn't hurt. One phone call. Is it? Yeah, no, it's fine. We're just a day late. Fine, that's great. Fine. So when will I expect it? Okay. And so overall what we're trying to do here is reduce this cash gap, because the flow coming in, we can increase the flow and we can decrease the outflow, but actually what we want to do is speed up the transition from money in and money out. So if we look here about, if we were a stock of a product-based business, we'd buy our stock, we'd get 30 days credit, we'd hold that stock for 60 days until we sell it, and then we don't collect our money for sort of another 60 days. So we've got a cash gap between when we pay it to when we get it of 100 days. That's money tied up in stock, in debtors, creditors, that isn't flowing. So what we've got to be focused on is how, reducing this from both ends, not just one end, reduce it from both ends. And always have strategies around this to be thinking, right, what can we do? Because the moment you take your eye off this, is the moment that river starts to silt up. And it is constant and never ending. It's just all the time. Somebody's got to be responsible. Some targets. Set some, even if you're not going to achieve them. People like to have targets. If you've got bookkeepers, set them a target. Your debtor days is this. Your stock turnover days are this. I want you to find 10% reduction in overheads this month. Even if they don't achieve it, the fact that they're going through the process of doing it means that you're going to be about right. And we're just trying to create those good habits to keep this flow of money coming in and going out. And the other thing about when we talked about the hoarding of cash is, have enough money in the business to provide you your safety security. It might be a month, it might be 3 months, you might decide, actually I want 6 months cash. If I have no sales, I can survive 6 months. Doesn't matter what it is, but set that figure, anything over and above that must come out of the company. Must come out. Okay, if tax means it's too expensive to take it out, then do something within there that it's somewhere else. Set up another special account or something. Put it on a long-term deposit account, so at least it's earning interest. Okay, but work very, very lean and mean with the cash that you actually need. Amazing how little cash on a balance you actually need. Have your overdraft facility there just to cover you so you don't pay charges. Not that you're going to use it, but just to cover you enough if you blip in and blip out. But I can guarantee that there's a couple of times when you blip in and blip out, the interest on that, you'll make up more in being sort of far more focused on the company. Okay. Other ideas, measurements, review, move bank accountants. If you're not getting the right advice on that one, then think of changing. It's amazing. You get comfortable with people, but then they stop providing you the right. I mean, you had one the other day that, why didn't you tell me this a year ago? Suddenly, when I've told you I'm now going, now you're being attentive. What bloody hell's use is that? And just remember, the more security you give, the less interest you pay. So it's certainly if you're borrowing. If you're prepared to give security, you pay less interest. Don't give security, you pay higher interest. So if you look at Wonga.com, unsecured loans, 1,736% APR. Put your house up on the line, you can be paying as little as 6%. That's another little one there. So further reading, Instant profits, there's a few good things in there on Brad's book to actually increase the profitability within the business. But a lot of this is just really good common sense, but applied common sense. We all know this stuff. It's getting into the habit to actually make sure we apply it. So just have a think about one thing that you want to do as a result of this, okay, to actually apply in your business over the next quarter. And then I'll hand over to Clive just to give a bit of an overview of what his sort of current, I say challenge, but sort of where he's on a particular thing, and a few ideas for you guys would be very, very useful.
Yeah. I'm tempted to stand up, I'm tempted to sit down and take notes.
It's a small group,
it's a small group.
Sit down.
My focus this time, I've never done any, I run children's day nursery for those kids. So mine is very much business to customer. And I'm going through trying to come up with my sales and marketing strategy. And I've not really fully identified who I'm after, because I've got a mixture, as we've gone through recession. I did have, in the boom times, a lot of parents, they were dual income, focused, so they were 5 days a week. The more they paid, the happier they were, because they were giving their child the best, and so on. And of course, now we've moved into different times, and so I'm picking up a lot of government, 2-year-old funded, and that sort of thing. And I really want to know whether I'm selling people education or childcare so that they can go back to work. I haven't fully rounded that circle to know exactly what I'm offering. So when I come up with my copy for my adverts and so on. So I was just wondering if any of you guys have done customer profiling, and if you sort of sat down with customers and sort of gone through that profiling exercise to find out exactly where they go, what they read, where they visit, how they search, just to give me some guidance. So not specifically for childcare, but in any business as to what you.
Well, I've helped a club based over 700 members, and it took us about 5 or 6 months to actually, in about 50 odd classes. They had about 15 different tutors, and they were similar to you. They actually didn't know which part of their club was earning the money or not earning the money. So when they wanted to advertise and increase the profitability of the club, they actually didn't know what part of their core business, and as I said, maybe 50, 60 club, maybe even more with outreach, they actually didn't know which ones was earning the most money. Turns out to be horrific. There was only about 5 or 6 who were actually earning money and paying for the rest of the club, because they didn't know. They had this identity year on year on year, didn't have accountants, because when you're a sports club, under the terms of the inland revenue, you don't have to submit accounts up to a certain turnover. They just looked at, well, we've still got 14,000, we've got 15,000, then the rent went up, then the hall rent went up, and they wanted to increase. Didn't have a clue. So it was a hard slog in the end, actually, trying to get, because then we took the halls, the electric, and the tutor fees, and all this and that. And they were absolutely staggered. Now, hopefully this year and next year they can almost double their profitability. They don't make profit, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Increase their income and whatever. And it was a hard slog. Now, whether that works every other way, but basically is that person is paying that. And we had slots, if you like, and we put the slot in there and how much did that. Then we took the analysis of how many hours we were paying for all the tutors and the trainers and this, that, and the other to get. And we did it because it's term based and things like that.
Did you do interviews? Did you actually speak to and ask them?
No, we're analytical of everything that was coming in. We knew the profiles. We did all that. Believe it or not, we did it by postcode. Now that's pretty dumbing down, but actually it's quite amazing.
Yeah.
Where the majority of their, in this instance, gymnasts came from. You think it would be wealthy. In fact, it was the exact opposite. It was from
so that's a good thing. Is actually a postcode analysis of the clients. I think that's a good one to become
Yeah,
more.
I mean, we've done that, and then we've sent buses round and that sort of thing. It was, I mean, has anybody done anything on the media that people do? If they sort of sat down and done an interview with a client base, or no? Then
yeah, we've done some market research things. That tended to be business to business, and it's looking at particular target groups in terms of what media they read and so on. But that's particularly business to business rather than consumer profiling. Yeah, I mean, it probably comes down to degrees of market research, really, if you're looking at that things. And so you've got the options of the research with your existing clients, customers,
Yeah.
or trying to then work out a kind of a typical demographic profile and trying to get somebody to do market research of in, you know, you've said this is typically where our clients live and the types of houses and so on. Somebody that would actually go around and try and knock on doors and do a customer survey.
yes, I mean, we were going to go through. Obviously, we know how many times they come in and how good they are at paying and so on, and try and come up with a profile of our existing people. So, well, these are the A's, B's, and into the C's of our customers. But then we want to try and capture the information from them.
Some of that
As
is
to
quite personal.
where the rest, and it was that sort of thing of
Because do you want to know whether they're a single parent, whether their income's
I want to know.
50,000?
I want to sort of be able to put together. I mean, what I don't want to do is to invest in a whole load of things to go up into Ferrum, shopping centre with a great big stand and balloons and teddy bears and everything else, and find that actually, because they're all working, they don't go on market day on a Wednesday, so it's a complete waste of time. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, things like that. But equally, which gyms do they go to, and which cinemas do they go to, and some of those things, and what do they search for? I mean, I'll probably know some of the questions, but it's how to go and get that information. I mean, have people done questionnaires? Do you need to sort of sit down with half a dozen? Is that enough?
Questionnaire and some sort of incentive for them to fill the questionnaire in.
Yeah.
And
So
give it back to you.
So
Usually
put
you
a
get them to fill in the questionnaire on the spot.
yeah.
And sometimes it's worth having an incentive, but customise your questions for what you want to know.
Maybe
You
if
can
you
do that
get-
yourself.
I mean, I think 1 free day, or you
Yeah.
might lose money, but that might be cheaper if you count up the number of people that ask for it, than actually even having a minor ad campaign or something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering how willing people are, how personal people.
Well, aren't you only looking to raise clients anyway? So aren't you only looking at, I mean, in terms of what you want out of it, presumably you want better ones that are going to pay you.
Yeah.
more. So to some extent, you don't want to be asking necessarily your C's and D's, do you? You want
No,
to be.
I mean, I ask my managers whenever we get a phone call or anything else, how do they hear about us and stuff, and that's word of mouth.
Yeah, that's always a default.
Yeah, it's a default.
Yeah, but there's a clue in there, isn't there? That is a very valuable.
It is, but
Yeah,
but I don't then
I
know.
can guarantee all our clients, if we say, they're trying to, when they get the phone calls in and we're trying to justify the marketing, and they'll say, reputation,
Yeah,
because they hadn't actually asked.
yeah,
There's always a default there
yeah.
that people do. But people do lifestyle questionnaires.
Yeah.
And
Well, holiday companies do, don't they?
and it's
Massively.
a matter of kind of getting it in the right terms and the right incentive for people.
Yeah.
But maybe trying to couch it in terms of to enable us to offer a more tailored service or a better service. So it looks like there's something of value and benefit there, rather than trying to say we're trying to actually establish why you're making decisions now. And,
I think we did that a few weeks ago, about sort of surveys.
Yeah.
People will complete a survey if there's a benefit.
It's an event. Yeah.
So they can see
the
something's
idea
going to
of-
be done. So that whole improving
Yeah.
sort of the way we do things, would you mind doing this with a good prize?
Yeah.
What is,
Yeah.
what is it? Are they day nurseries? Are they care nurseries? Or
Then day nurseries for children. So, and this is, I want to try and get this to know where I should be putting and what I should be putting where in order to get to these people. You know,
What you're doing there then is surveying your existing customers, so you'll get back.
that was the thought. Looking at your,
that
if I go through the A's and B's,
Yeah.
and use them as a model.
Looking at your future, then should you not be thinking about where you want to be rather than where
Yeah. Well, that's part of the anxious side, is that a lot of government money is coming in at the lower end because they want to capture the C's and D's into the system.
Yeah.
And there is a danger of taking the easy money of the government funded childcare, and then you end up with.
You charge them, you get less for those, I guess.
You can do, but you can also end up with fights in the car park. And that alters where you sit.
Your reputation.
Yeah, exactly.
Your image.
Danger of trying to appeal
Your
to
image,
both ends of the market.
that's it. And so what I want to do is to try and find, because I mean, I pay money on bus advertising and things like that, which is very hard to quantify as to whether people see it. And again, what should I do with web? What should I do with leafleting, strategic alliances, to try and find out where I should aim for? You know, should I be going to the local gyms and that sort of thing, which aren't the local ones, because it's not an area that I know particularly well, chimney pot wise. I don't live in that particular area where I want to be doing this at Fairham. So I've got to try, and I don't want to be sticking up, paying money at health centres and those sorts of things if they're not the places that those people go to. And I was just sort of wondering, I've done things before about, you know, offering for referrals, you know, a bottle of wine, and that was, you know, that was 5-8 years ago, you know, and it was all sort of very.
bottles of wine will be your EFs and Gs anyway.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's the age-old thing of a referral or something, and that wasn't well taught even that time ago. So I was just wondering whether the enter a free draw. Of course, if you start and do that, people say, "Why haven't you asked me?" Because you're a CID. I don't know. So it was just if anybody had done that sort of thing, and could sort of say, "Well, yeah, you need to sit down with the questionnaire because if you will only get the answer that they interpret, not the answer that you want."
I think, Kevin, you'd have to guys testing different ways when you test in marketing, you know, testing it.
Well,
Reviewing it,
this
testing it,
is the pre-marketing is to know who your target market is and what are they currently thinking. And this is what we're trying to get into the mind of the individual is, well, what do they think? Where do they spend their time? Do they read certain papers? I think Colin's point, the lifestyle survey, because they're used to doing lifestyle surveys. I can't be sexist, but
sure.
That sort of demographic, I think it's an accepted way.
Yeah.
They will do these things if there's something in it for them.
Yeah.
Improving standards and also a good price.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
And we don't need everyone to do it. We only need a good sample to give us an indication of.
But I think you do need to, the questions that you'll answer will need to give some form of indication that there is something in there. Asking them what income band they're in, what newspaper they read, do they go to the cinema 4 times a week? Or they're looking at that thinking, well, that's got nothing to do with my child being in childcare. This is just someone who's being nosy about my. And therefore, I think within it, you're going to have to sort of, I would think you'd have to sort of slip those in.
Yeah. I mean,
but the main focus is about improving what we do for the benefit of your child.
And it is that subtle thing of am I just providing, in inverted commas, a nannying service so they get on with life, or are they actually trying to get their children on the educational ladder and a head start and so on? And those are two quite subtle differences as to what I'm
Do you offer
providing.
the second option?
Sorry?
Will you offer the second education?
But it's sometimes if you're selling education, then it's a kind of, you're going down a private school kind of route, and the copy and the imagery that you put up is different to if you're nannying and you want nice, warm, friendly, look, we just do a little bit of baking and it's nice and we all have a nice time and we do a lot of playing. That's different, isn't it?
You still class that as education?
Yeah, we do, and we have to be very careful. But what I'm put out there
What's important
as a
to parents,
messaging.
I suppose.
Yeah, messaging.
I can only talk from experience, and I'm going back a few years now since my son was in nursery. But it was about a safe environment.
Yeah.
More than anything, I suspect, because they are I mean, my son went to nursery at 4 years old, 4 months old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my wife went back to
Yeah.
work. And in that situation, you've got someone who's a baby that's 4 months old.
Yeah.
And the one thing that he wants to be absolutely certain of, forget education.
Yeah.
In 4 months,
Yeah.
I want to be absolutely certain, so that my wife did, that he would, beyond anything else,
Yeah.
nothing was going to happen to him. He was going to be wrapped up in cotton wool, and at 4 months old, we were going to pick him up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to come back with bruises and bumps in,
Yeah.
although they do.
Yeah.
And therefore, the safe environment, I suppose, and of course, I expect you to. They moved up from a toddlers group to a waddlers to whatever it was, and then through that process, I guess that it was then about the interaction and about his education, learning. So I think again, only from experience, what you want out of it is also very different depending on. I mean, you only talk about a 4-year period, but that to a parent is incredibly important, because what I wanted for him at 4 months old was not what I wanted for him when he was 3 years old.
Yeah.
My first thought at 4 months was nothing other than can you be trusted to look after my 4-month-old baby?
Yeah.
While me and my wife go to work. I wasn't interested on is he gonna know his 9 times table by the time he's 6 months old?
Yeah.
And therefore, what out of that, depending on what group they're in, I think what people want out of it is completely different, even in a 3 or 4 year period.
Can you get into their communication thing, their Twitter or their Facebook?
Well, this was part of what we wanted
So
to
that
find
you can
out
see-
is where they go
how they
and where they
Yeah.
that was all part of it.
We have to sort of bring it clear in there, but is that useful?
Yeah.
Yeah, some good things there we can work on. Good. So dates for the diary. Next meeting is the 23rd of January, and we're going to look at some time management tips with that. So how can we do our time management discipline? The next workshop is, I think there's one this afternoon.
Yes, there is.
All this afternoon. Team this afternoon, and the sales process on the 6th Feb. Oh, sorry, no, so 27th of Jan, 6th of Feb is we're talking sales process, Action Club, Customer Mastery.
I've got those a bit wrong, haven't I? Sorry. I have, sorry about
We
that.
need to update those,
I
but
will.
we've got one this afternoon and then one in 2 weeks on the Action Club. The next Think Big, the planning day is the 16th of January, so next week, and that's where we look at the big picture and how do we put a big plan together for to grow the business forwards. For those that are into LinkedIn, I know Colin, you've been to that one, I know Paul has. The next one that we're going to start these going forwards on a regular basis, so they're going to be on Friday mornings from the 17th of Jan. So anybody that's into LinkedIn wants to use it more, then that's about that one, because you can see that's going to be a good event. And is everyone coming karting with us?
I haven't played my diary. I will do that.
Have you booked in with Angela?
No, Andrew's not booking for go-kart.
Exactly.
Everyone else? Megan's decided not to go. But Wednesday the 22nd, 4:45, kicking off at 5:30 or about 5:30. So we do need to get the driver's briefing, so if you can be there, make sure we are there for 5, the latest. And how many have we got numbers wise?
About 25.
About 25. So I think we'll do a sort of an endurance team event. We'll put people into 2 groups and do it that way, so that we will get a good bit of time and we can see how the group sort of fares between the 2 of them. And then big day for the diary, 10th and 11th of April, the big event with Brad Sugars, James Cracknell. Jonathan McDonald is our latest addition. He deals with marketing for Procter & Gamble, Unilever, for these big guys. So, you know, we're really hoping he's going to come with some great marketing, brand type education around those things. James Cracknell will be on the mental aspect of winning, of success and winning, and Brad doing his things. So that's going to be over at Brighton, so nice and easy to get to. The 10th and 11th, Thursday, Friday. The awards dinner will be on the Thursday night. So if you do want to sort of stop over and join us for that, it'd be fantastic. And please, if you do want to enter the awards, then let's have a talk about which one we can go for. These are all the categories that are there, so there's got to be something in there for you. And it is good. It's a bit like going to horse races. If you haven't got a bet on, it's not quite as exciting as if you have got a bet on. So and then we can celebrate with those people that win. Actually, never know, it might be one of us as well. So if you do know anybody, this might be something I talked to you, Keith. People in the Eastleigh area, there's free £250 free money for training. If you've got any clients in an Eastleigh postcode, and obviously Eastleigh goes down into Handball, Eastleigh District Council. So I'll have a chat with you on that one. And my quote of the day: don't let your mouth write a check that your tail can't cash. Which was really that expense side of things. You know, we get all excited about what we can do. At the end of the day, cash is king. And so thank you very much for your time today.